Quinn Hughes is a Minnesota Wild, acquired by this team and Bill Guerin in a blockbuster trade earlier this year. However, we now have ourselves word as to where this team is gonna go next. After one blockbuster American acquisition, it looks like the Wild are going swinging for another. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about this article which talks about the Minnesota Wild taking a big swing for Auston Matthews. Oh my goodness. Now, of course, Michael Russo and Joe Smith going out there and writing articles on The Athletic. The Athletic is paid for material, so you can't go out there and actually read the article yourself. It'll pop up the paywall unless you do have The Athletic, but that is not going to stop people from going out there and responding to the ideas that are proposed here. Wild Insider. After the Quinn Hughes blockbuster, Bill Guerin is setting up his next superstar swing. Take a look at Grok.com. They gave a pretty interesting summary of the article. The main takeaway from this piece is that Minnesota Wild GM Bill Guerin is deliberately positioning the team for another major superstar acquisition, potentially Auston Matthews, this offseason or next season, after already pulling off the blockbuster trade for Quinn Hughes from Vancouver in December. There are some points talked about here as well. Guerin intentionally held back at the trade deadline to preserve assets, aiming for A-plus talents rather than settling for lesser moves. The Wild are now a legitimate cup contender, currently top 5 in the league in points. Auston Matthews is the clear name in the rumor mill. Guerin has been publicly hyping Matthews, especially after the U.S. Olympic win, built rapport with him through USA Hockey, and even had Elliot Friedman joking about Minnesota as a landing spot. Matthews' friendship with Hughes adds extra intrigue. Other targets are Brady Tkachuk and Robert Thomas, and Guerin still has solid trade capital left, like Wallstead, Yurov, and a 2027 first. Now, you could understand that articles like these being published straight up talking about the GM's relationship with a superstar player like Auston Matthews, it's going to get some feathers ruffled. You had Rachel Krychak going out here on Twitter. You might remember her from some of the other stuff she used to do with the Canucks and some of the other social media stuff she'd been a part of. But she went out there and tweeted this, "Hey, this is openly tampering through the media. And given how many teams love to go after the Leafs for the most minute of things, Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment should be ringing Gary's phone off the hook for this." Now, the NHL, and especially Toronto Maple Leafs fans, they should know a thing or two about tampering. It was just 10 months ago when we ended up seeing this entire saga go down too. Don't y'all remember? Mitch Marner, former Toronto Maple Leafs star, he did not want to re-sign in Toronto. And there was a very, very obvious idea saying that he wanted to go to Vegas. He wanted to be a Golden Knight. Maybe it was Mark Stone that convinced him at the Four Nations face-off, who really knows? But Mitch Marner wanted to go to Vegas. He handcuffed Toronto. He said, "I can only go to Vegas. I do not want to go anywhere else. And I'm not going to re-sign here. I'm going to sign in Vegas. So if you want to get something for me, just trade me to Vegas." And he did get traded to Vegas. It wasn't for a super amazing package. Marner's a 100-point caliber player, playing admittedly at an 83-point pace this year. But Marner did not get traded for the package that he probably should have been worth based off of the value of a 100-point scorer. It was a 1-for-1 trade. Mitch Marner for Nick Waugh. Awesome graphic, by the way. Look at that. But ultimately, this was the tampering mega hub from last year. Everybody was talking about it. Hey, like, it's not a secret. We know Vegas wants Marner and Marner wants Vegas. Nobody's surprised to see this go down. How is that not tampering? So I do think it's very interesting, this idea that Minnesota and their GM Bill Guerin, they are now tampering, or at least starting to get that process going for one Auston Matthews. Now, Matthews' contract doesn't expire till the end of 2028. He's making $13.25 million a year till the end of that season, so he does have 2 more years left on his deal after this current season. The Maple Leafs are not going to make the playoffs. We already know that. Auston Matthews, of course, is done for the year, so these numbers are final. 53 points in 60 games played. This is the lowest production season Matthews has ever had. He has never had a season under 60 points before. He has never had a season under 30 goals before. This has been a bad year for him, all things considered, despite the fact that he had 7 points in 6 Olympic Games as the captain of Team USA and ended up winning a gold. He actually did pretty well in that respect, but regular season-wise, Auston Matthews and the Maple Leafs have not been doing all too hot. And now he's out for the year. I think it is very fair to bring up the idea of tampering, openly tampering through the media. Let's take a look at some of the replies to Rachel's tweet over here. We know Vegas tampered with Marner. The league did nothing. The Leafs cannot allow that to happen a second time. Now, there are some rebuttals over here. Loch Ness Monster says, oh, the 32 GMs are in Palm Beach as we speak. I'm sure there's a lot of wink wink, nudge nudge going on. Then there is tampering than this. The article barely touches on Guerin wanting Matthews. He just spoke highly of him being the captain. Let's be honest, Leaf fans and media pushed Matthews out. He played his last game as a Leaf. He's already told them he wants out this summer. Might as well get it out there and get the best possible return. Now, the fact that there are Leafs fans even that are talking about the idea of trading away Auston Matthews, citing his lack of real leadership, etc., the fact that nobody stood up for him when Gudish needed him, that does bring up some very, very interesting talking points. And now we have conversations here on the subreddit. Please don't run Willie out of town. Oh, first it was Marner, then it's going to be Matthews, then William Nylander. Please don't send that guy out and about as well. But it doesn't look like, actually, the Auston Matthews to Minnesota conversation has reached the Maple Leafs subreddit for now. With all that said, though, this article is a pretty interesting read, and I do think that we should take the time to at least acknowledge what it is that is talked about here. I mean, hey, the Minnesota Wild. Could they be an Auston Matthews trade destination? Is it tampering the fact that this article was even written and posted about? Especially with all the journalistic connections that Michael Russo and Joe Smith seem to have to people that are in the situation? Auston Matthews and Quinn Hughes are good friends. Could they join each other once more with the Minnesota Wild? Matthews and Kaprizov on the same team. That sounds ridiculous. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this entire Matthews to Mini idea. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.